Welcome to More Than Mindset, the only podcast that bridges the gap between spirituality and success. Go beyond the mind with clarity and confidence coach Kim Guillory and learn how to integrate your passion to serve with your skills and experience to create a business you love. Let's get started.
Hello, my lovely listeners. I am just returning from a couple of week journey. So first I went to Gulf Shores where I held a retreat for my coaches and clients, which was absolutely fabulous. So fun. It was freezing cold, which was my first experience of what felt like a snowstorm on the beach. When I looked out the window where I saw sand, I swear to you, it should have been snow. There's no sense in that. Anyway, we usually do this in earlier October, and this year, I don't remember exactly the reason why, but it was moved back a couple of weeks. Probably because exactly who needed to be there was, or that's my belief. Anyway, so I spent I think it was a 4-day, Thursday to Sunday retreat with the coaches and clients. Fascinating, amazing, transforming. The community is beautiful. We have the most loving, nurturing, drop everything and just be yourself kind of environment. And I'm like super stoked about that because there's nothing quiet like feeling like you belong. And there's no judgment. There's no ranting and raving and carrying on. We don't have any drama. Everything is just seriously light and love, rainbows and daisies kind of thing. So even if someone is having a moment, they are allowed that moment. So one of my rules is you cannot get up and give them tissue or hug them when they're feeling bad or tell them they shouldn't be feeling that way. There is no saving, pleasing, fixing in this environment. Every experience is valid. All of your thoughts, your feelings that arrive from those thoughts, the actions that you take because of those thoughts, and all of your processing is 100% allowed, completely valid. Your experience, all of it, that is something that the world does not give us. This is something that our environments of the past has not given us. And I know for sure it's a space that I hold for my clients, especially working with my one-on-one private clients and coaches, is they were in some pretty low places at some points, and I do not believe that they should not be in those places. I believe it's valid that we have these experiences. They are teachers for us. It's how we learn, and how we experience determines how we show up and even the example that we become for other people. So thought I might share that with you. So I stayed the week at the beach right down the road from the beach house where we held the retreat and just had some R&R time. I had a private client from New Orleans come out for the day and evening, and I did my work from the beach house, and it was fabulous. Then Friday, I started my way to Atlanta. I think it was called a Tune event, which was a retreat with some fabulous speakers who I consider the leading healers, teachers, soulpreneurs of the world. And it was at Serenbe Farms, guys. If you have not checked this place out, you must. They actually have a podcast called Serenbe Stories. That's Serenbe. Serenbe Stories. And they tell the story about the farm, the property, how it became this retreat center and homestead, and this actual community where I think there's like 1,000 residents there. They have, I call it like this conscious culture and community that they've created. It's really amazing. They served us very healthy food in all forms of food. I mean, the way they nourished our mind, liquids that we put into our body, the food that we put into our body, the friendships, the companionship and community was fabulous. We had Dr. Joe Dispenza, Elizabeth Gilbert, Gabby Bernstein, Shaman Durek, John Weinman. I really had probably my soul crush was on Elizabeth Gilbert this time. She was the main reason that I booked there. And I am in this create mode, create and express and show up as an expression of the consciousness that reigns within you kind of thing. And I feel like she really held the space for that. And I'm actually attending an event with Elizabeth Gilbert and Rob Bell later, well, actually earlier 2020 in Scottsdale, Arizona, that I'm looking forward to. So this is my takeaway that I want to share with you today because it does speak into this particular episode. I believe that the art of creating, or this creative expression that I am so fascinated by right now, is like divine consciousness, right? This is like truth with a capital T. It is the truth. There's not one teacher, speaker, author, or anybody who owns truth. Divine consciousness is an awareness. We are learning, transmuting, transforming as this information comes available for us. And I say us by all of us. It's not in some of us. The ability to tap into consciousness is not for one particular person or tribe or race or class. It is for all of us who are soul beings in a bodysuit. You know my take on this. I've talked about this already. We're basically just a whole lot of consciousness wrapped up in all of the tissue, being held together by the bones and the muscles. And that's how we express in the earthly realm, in the here and now. Divine consciousness that runs through us, which is the truth of no ownership, no particular person, is what we are sharing and expressing with the world, the way you want to express it as the person that you are, like what genes are expressed within you. I feel like this could go kind of deep, so I want to reel it back in. Let's just say you're tapped in and you receive this information, you receive these downloads, this knowing, this inner wisdom, and you're not quite sure what's making sense of it, but you've kind of heard it before, you kind of understand it, and then you might hear one of these speakers and teachers, like for me in particular, like listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. When I came across his work, I feel like it is in perfect alignment with the Perchlight approach, which came through me as a download the day Louise Hay died. Like I remember writing the first day I opened up the computer to start writing, and I was kind of like buffering, which is the thing that we do to avoid crappy emotions. I went to Facebook instead of writing my book, and I saw that Louise Hay had died. And I instantly just like honored the time and space and the teachings, all of the years of experience that Louise Hay brought for me in my journey, my healing journey. And I was just in this humble abode, which is the word that I've been using a lot this week, for the work that she put out in the world when it was not cool, when it was not popular, when it was not accepted, and when it was not okay. She was one of the pioneers to bring in presence, and possibility and potentiality. And I followed a lot of her work along the years. So when I'm going to write the book, I kind of just come into this deep gratitude for her and this thankfulness. And I write that at the beginning of the book. And I do this little prayer. And it seems that the information that came through me was just like really clear and clean. And then after that, after writing it, the more I read her work, the more familiar it was. And I was kind of blown away by this. And I was like, oh my God, it feels like I've tapped into some sort of consciousness outside of my own experience. And so I've really dabbled around with looking into that and listening to other channelers and seekers. And it seems to be what we are all saying. And so to me, that is capital T, truth. It is something that many of us have come to experience, didn't quite have the words for it, and we express it in the way that it made sense, and then we found other people who understood the languaging by the experience they also had. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to go somewhere else with this. So what I'm trying to say is that this divine consciousness is available 24/7, always. We could call it grace. We could call it truth. We could call it healing power, divinity, Christ consciousness, awareness, right? How do you relate to how you learn and process? And how do you express and share it? That is the creative expression. I say the art of creative expression, or the art of creating. And this is why I've kind of got this little crush going for Elizabeth Gilbert right now, because she talks about this in Big Magic, that she truly just shows up to write, however writing looks through her in that time. She does her research, and she gathers information, and then she goes into creative expression. So I think this is important to talk to you, in particular, my listeners who are health and wellness practitioners. And you are the healers or the wounded healers. You are the people who are doing the work, who are on personal transformation journey, who are in this awakening process. So we typically are entrepreneurs, and we want to share this self-healing and this processing and what we're learning to the world. Like, I know who you are, I know who I am, and I feel like this is a really important thing to talk about, because how it started was like in retreat, I know that I have the ability to bring down this portal of potentiality or possibility. It's this opportunity for others to experience presence and pleasure and purpose and play, prosperity. I don't know why it's all these P words, but it's just what's actually just pouring through me as I'm sitting here. And what I mean by portal is imagining it's this opening, like as if you were looking up at the clouds and you saw like this circle within the clouds, like this opening, or you were in the forest. I remember like I was walking at Serenbe and I was sitting in the middle of the labyrinth and I looked up and it was surrounded by a circle of trees. And so it was like a portal, right? It's like this circular opening from the sky going down. And what we do is when we are present, we have the ability to tap into this consciousness, which gives us divine, I'll say, information, understanding, knowing. And it's us awakening to what is already within us. And the whole entire 2 weeks I've been gone has been about how we try to fill the void within ourselves with stuff of the world. Like we want to go and get things, or we want to escape ourselves. Even in meditation, right? We're taught to like be mindless, like turn off thoughts. Well, guys, that's not possible. And if you're actually in the portal of presence, the thoughts get to just coexist. They're just doing their thing. You're kind of giving them like the timeout. Go out there and play. Kind of like you would let a 2-year-old lab just go run around in the yard. You're just letting your thoughts do that. And you're bringing presence and consciousness down into the physical realm, down into your body. You use the breath to anchor presence in your physical body. Does that make sense? I'm going to get back to creating. So I want to make sure you're with me. I feel like this is going to be one of those, like you'll have to listen to several times. So this portal that I'm speaking of, this portal of presence, of potentiality, of possibility, actually is inside of you, right? But we believe it's outside of ourself. And so what we were doing in the experience of meditation, of transformation, and even in the coach's portal and my one-on-one coaching, is we're bringing this consciousness down into ourselves in the physical material world. So it's not about escaping the physical body, going outside of yourself to meditate and get lost in the ethers in order to escape reality. It's actually more about bringing heaven on earth and making it your reality. Bing! Sounds lovely, right? This is where joy comes from. It's that ever-knowing okayness. It settles in the pit of your belly. And so I encourage you right now to see if you can drop outside of your head and anchor presence down into your heart or down into your belly. You might be a heart filler sensor, or you might be a belly sensor, maybe a sacral sensor where it comes all the way down below the belly button. Just feel into your body below the chin, below the neck, below the shoulders. And see if you could open that up. Imagine a Buddha belly or a Santa belly. Just open your belly and drop down. This is taking presence into your body and connecting with this consciousness, bringing this consciousness down into the physical world, into the physical realm. And this is actually what fills the void. It's the disconnection that you feel when you feel the void, when you feel the dissatisfaction, the unhappiness, the lack of joy, depression. That separation is actually a separation from yourself. So I invite you to receive this consciousness within your own body. Take a couple of breaths and stay with me here. Opening up where you're sitting, like the lower part of your body. Imagine it to be like the bottom of a very wide bowl. Let it open. See if you can soften your thinking ability. In other words, let your thoughts go. Don't try to follow them. Just try to follow the voice. That listening, grounding, kind of spiraling down into your body. Use your breath. Bring the inhale in. Imagine there was a hook, a little anchor on the edge, and you're dropping it down through the head, through the throat, through the heart, all the way down to your belly, through the ribs. And just silently, or you can say it out loud if you feel comfortable, presence. This is presence. I am here now. I am safe in my body. It is safe in my body. It is safe to be present. There is no place better than here, right now. And notice if it begins to fill that void that may have been inside of you previously. You can just keep trying that. I bring in the portal of potentiality and possibility within my physical body in this material realm as presence. When I am present, I can experience play and pleasure, purpose. I can create prosperity. Notice how different that is from the normal survival, which is where the mind is usually going. The mind is always focused. Survival, survival. How do I survive? How do I feel safe? How do I get the upper hand? How do I make sure I have enough, right? Enough time, enough money, enough energy. Like the mind is always trying to beat scarcity. But when you're in grace and you're in presence and you're in this portal, then it's just ease and flow and grace. So if you can stay here a little bit longer, I want to really give you the experience of being tapped in to presence so that you can receive what you most desire. And as a soul being, as soul essence, we most desire experience. Does that make sense? Like we have come here in human form to experience the five senses, to experience connection, expression, freedom of being, freedom of expressing. That's actually the human experience. It's not about going to work and really white knuckling and forcing things and pushing through and collecting dollars, working hours for pennies. Like it's not about that. That's where we get lost. That's where we get separated. But the experience I want to offer you today that I'm taking home from Sarah B., from post-retreat, from the beach, from time spent in divine consciousness, is actually in this presence. Are you willing to receive? Are you capable of receiving? And are you willing to open yourself up to the potentiality and possibility that it could be better than anything else outside of yourself? That maybe the grass is not greener. That maybe someone doesn't know better. That maybe you already know exactly what it is that you want to experience, that you want to create, and you want to express. But the program, society's system, the generational patterns, the old limiting beliefs and stories are actually what's preventing you from coming into this presence and receiving it. See if you can inquire, just get curious, and think about what drives you. What's running the story? What's the unconscious story that's inside your mind, in your thoughts, that keeps pushing you into this rat race? When what you most seek is presence and ease and pleasure, joy, creative expression. So it's really about getting present and then uncovering the stories of the little t truth, the truth that you've been taught from the program, from the systems. Little t that you've been taught from the teachers at school, traditional school, modern medicine, like the little t, the little truth that you are limited and that your body will be diseased as you age, and that it sucks to get old and you'll have pain when you get old. Little truth, the truth that society teaches, that the program is teaching. Unveiling that story, uncovering so that you can understand what is creating the results that you do not desire, which is feeling exhausted and stressed and depressed and disconnected. The little truth creates this feeling of dissatisfaction, unworthiness, defeat. And then we take actions according to how we feel, and then we create more of it. So we want to unveil, unlayer, uncover so that you can understand why you keep creating these same results and how you can navigate, turn your GPS in a different direction, have a different experience. Yeah, we're going to have to change the neural pathways. We're going to have to peel the layers, just like peeling an onion, to get beyond the little t, the little truth, beyond those limitations, beyond those old stories that have been planted in your head. You have been hypnotized by society to believe you are unworthy, that your feelings are not valid, that your thoughts and beliefs are not real and not valid and not true. And it is hogwash. It is BS. It is a belief system. And you do not have to own it. You don't have to buy into it. You can actually make the decision right here, right now, that you will no longer believe it. And that you are willing to uncover so that you can identify and discover what you truly are, which is the big T, the big truth. That you are, your inner essence is, that you are a soul full and whole in human form. And that you can tap in to this portal right here, right now, and you can receive the fullness, the joy, the pleasure, the ease that you are so seeking from the things you buy and the things you eat and the things you say and do, all of the distractions, all of the buffering that you do in the world are unnecessary once you realize that what you are seeking is right here inside of yourself. But we didn't know. We weren't taught. And I don't know that this consciousness was available in the capacity that it is today. And I believe that comes from the individual seeking it and not giving up and not quitting, being really committed to the process of reinventing the self in joy and ease and expression and fullness. And let me tell you guys, it came at a cost. I had to be willing to get rid of all that I was not in order to become, in order to experience this presence, in order to be able to pull down, tap in this portal and really receive and live in all of this potentiality and possibility and prosperity, and to really come to know my purpose and to be playful and pleasuring, because I am. It is super pleasurable. It is so fun and light and easy. But you have to be willing to get rid of that sense of belonging to society. And it's painful. There is a grieving process to it, but there is no other liberation like it. The freedom and the ease and the joy comes from the detaching from the mind, what the mind thinks belonging is. Being part of the divas, being part of the high dollar society, being part of whatever the fancy camps or cars or whatever you think it is. The one who wears the certain prom dress or gets the crown or whatever it is. You have to be willing to detach from that commercialized system, the little t, the little truth, the truth of the social norm. And you may not be, and I honor that. And you may be, and I honor that. My clients who come and find me know that they were ready to step away from the little t and step into the big T, because they are ready to receive this all-knowing, all-being connection of wholeness and authenticity, and to be able to show up fully as themselves, as their identity in this new form, this new version, which is connected to consciousness and just expressing and sharing it with the world so that we can all evolve together. It's kind of like the Serenbe community. They just made the decision that these are the neighbors they wanted, and this is the bakery that they were going to create, and this is the theater that they just created their own little world. And they were willing to detach from the rat race, from the craziness, from the $1 million homes, or from the busy society's story, whatever it was. And they were willing to step back and come back to nature, come back to the land, and come back to community where they're sitting on their porch and you're passing by and they're stopping and having conversation and drinking coffee and sitting at the bakery together and walking the land with the horses and the goats and the sheep. It's a decision that you make within yourself. And so if for you, it means running around to ball games and work and just making ends meet and spending all of your money in your home and in your car and in your private school or in your acting classes or in your whatever it is, right? It could be what is important to your mind right now in this day and time. Where do you spend your time, your energy, your money? Not just for yourself, even for your kids. Just think about where you put your priorities, because that's the first step, right? It's all about presence. You have to first recognize why you do what you do and where you are today. So I'm going to leave this episode here like this, kind of raw, and just kind of let you dial into it. And feel free to reach out, kim@kimguillory.com. Send me an email. Tell me if this makes sense. Tell me if this is something you've experienced yourself when you were willing to release and let go of all of that attachment, and you wanted to tap into that presence, the potentiality, the possibility, the grace, the ease, the flow, the freedom, the expression. If this is something that you also experienced, is this grief of what was, of this identity that you once identified with at one time, right? This personality of who you thought you were, this perception that you grew up to be, or you were hypnotized to be, or whatever. Where did the story come from that you perceived this particular identity, but it never really felt like you? You always had this kind of sense of disconnection or unworthiness or unsureness, or you didn't quite belong in the environment or the social community that you were in, or maybe even didn't even belong in the family that you were in. I would love to hear from you. You can join the Integrative Life on Facebook. Come and say, hey, Kim, I heard the podcast. I want to tell my story. I want to be part of this community. Just come. You're invited. I would love to connect with you and hear your purpose and how you play and what are the possibilities that you see, right? And if you were able to feel the void that was within yourself, and if you are loving the dance of life, the dance of ego and shadow and darkness and light and soul journeying, like that dance where you bring it all together, because that is what the integrative life is about. It's about integrating all aspects of ourself, our experiences, our history, our parents, our dreams. We want to integrate all of it. And heck yeah, we want to pull this together and we want to help other people heal. First, we have to self-heal. Once we can do that, then we can be the role model, the leader of it, and we can show other people how to do it. And yes, we can make amazing money, and we can give ourselves the luxury and the freedom of traveling and meeting more people and sharing that outside just by going out and meeting other people. That's what I love about retreats, hosting them as well as attending them. I have figured out a way to tap into my unique gift, my brilliance that I offer the world in service, and create a viable business from it, not only as a service, but as a self-healing modality that I want to offer humanity to help shift and evolve. And I want to offer to show you how to do this also for your personal experience as well as your professional experience. I want to help as many leaders, healers, teachers, entrepreneurs as possible to step into leadership role, to come into their essence, to tap into this consciousness and to bring more of it down into the earthly realm. This is how we create heaven on earth. We bring home down to us, right? I look forward to hearing from you. Till next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than Mindset. If you're feeling stuck on your journey to health, wealth, and relationships, head over to www.portal.kimguillory.com to learn more about the portal. It's a membership community where we take this work deeper, apply the concepts, and coach around the tough stuff.